Welcome back, Patriots. Trying something new. I'm using my cell phone light. It's really blinding my eyeballs. Anyway, we're gonna go over some articles, some news, daily news, and I don't know where to start. Shoot, this light really is blinding my eyes. So I guess C-SPAN callers are destroying Brian Seltzer. Let's take a listen.
And you guys always talk about how many times Trump has lied. I've calculated that I think with your chyrons, I don't know if there's any journalists left at CNN, but I know that, if I were to estimate about 300 different, distortions or misinformation that we get out of CNN, and you have to watch them in the airport, which is harsh. But if you added all that up to 46 months, it comes out to be 300,000 plus distortions of truth. So my thing is that you guys, this is how low you'll go, is that you went out and you made lies and you defamed a child, and then you had to settle out of court to pay this child for distorting information about this young individual. So I would say, if anything that's happening at CNN and anybody who buys your book, it's really just one of those things that is dividing our nation. And I don't believe in dividing our nation. It hurts our great nation. And so CNN is really the enemy of the truth. And that's my opinion. Thank you.
Brian Stelter.
I'm grateful for the call, and I know that you're not the only person that feels this way. There has been a process of radicalization that's happened in this country with media bashing that is absolutely unprecedented. 20, 30 years ago, conservatives talked about media bias, and there were some really valid points to that critique. It is absolutely true that lots of journalists are based in New York and Washington. They're based in big cities. They have liberal leanings. And mainstream newsrooms are built to make sure that bias doesn't seep into the news coverage. And yet sometimes it does. I absolutely acknowledge that. I think it's different to talk about things as if they're enemies. No American is an enemy of another American. No news outlet is an enemy of America.
Wrong. And then we got this video here. This is Biden's worst nightmare right here.
Stand up for
Mega Hulk, you almost turned green over there. Now I want to know what were you telling those guys?
Well, I was trying to get them to understand, just at first answer the question, because we would give him a question for him to answer, because Donald Trump is racist. Well, how's he racist? That's it.
He's been saying, I've seen him quoted saying some racist shit about black people.
Like what? Nothing. You got nothing. You keep saying, I heard him say this. I heard him say that. But you have no facts, though, bro. You got to come with some facts. That's it. And then just repeat it and repeat it. So I'm like, look, just answer the question. But they can't answer the question because they have no facts on their side. They have no facts. They don't do any research. They don't do any type of higher learning when it comes to what they believe. All they know is what the media narrative tells them to believe, and that's all they parrot.
The organization is fake. I personally believe that the BLM movement is fake. It has nothing to do with advancing the lives of black people.
They actually say they want to break up the family home.
Exactly.
Their main goal is to break up the patriarchal nuclear family. They want the men removed out of the family, which is what Democrats want also.
Exactly.
If BLM really cared about black lives, why would it be solely isolated to incidents where a black life is taken at the hands of a white cop? That happens less than 1%.
Come on.
Now, wait. Now, I like to equate this to, it's the same as if I was in a horrific accident. I have a massive head wound. I have a leg fracture and a scratch in my finger. And here come the first responders, and they want to tend to the scratch in my finger. And I'm telling you, what about the wound on my head? What about my fractured leg?
Come on.
That's what the BLM movement is. They're tending to the scratch on my finger, and that's not even what it's about. If you want to help us, let us tell you how you can help us.
Yes.
Don't come in and tell us how you want to help us, and don't tell me that I'm oppressed, because I'm not oppressed. I'm a black American. I'm a proud black American. I'm not oppressed. I'm not oppressed. I'm one of the freest persons on this world.
Come on.
Kneel for no man. I only kneel to God.
As you can see,
no one has a privilege over me except for God.
As you can see, black conservatism is the new punk rock. If you know what I mean.
We're the rebels. You want to be cool? Come join our cause, baby.
One question: who are we voting for in 2020?
Trump 2020!
There you go. It's the new punk rock, people. I concur. And then here we got Trump tours the destruction caused by Black Lives Matters rioters in Kenosha. Right there, ground zero, people. Crowd of Trump supporters arrived to greet President in Kenosha. Some more pictures. Huh? Would a creepy Joe come out of his basement? Huh? To do something like this? I don't think so. I don't think so. Oh, there's that video again. Suspect arrested for attempted RAPE on subway platform has 14 prior arrests. On Sunday at 11 a.m., a man was caught on video attempting to RAPE a woman on a subway platform in Manhattan. The man did not seem to care that he was committing his crime for all the world to see in broad daylight. My question is, if I'm the person filming this, I'm gonna run up, grab him, and start choking him from behind to get him off this woman. Or run up and kick his freaking head. But no, the person just stood there and was filming it, and then there's another person in the background. I'm gonna show the video.
Why did you attack? Why did you attack her at the subway station? Why did you attack her?
Jose, what do you want to say?
Why did you attack her?
Okay. Okay.
Why would she want to
What if she wanted to?
She's a female.
What is wrong? Why would you attack a woman?
Fuck you, man.
No, no.
So luckily he got arrested. No shame, right? Like, luckily it wasn't as bad because I guess, you know, he had his pants on, so I guess he was just like dry humping her. But why why would you do that in the crowded like subway, like in the middle of nowhere? I guess he beat her first. Yeah, suspect Jose Reyes beat the woman before he attempted to rape her. Luckily, people were there to see it. And this was at 11 a.m., dude. Wouldn't that be like a very busy time to... in the subway? Like... Leftist leaders in the dark shadows are running the riots and chaos. Violent leftists were flown in to disrupt RNC video.
He's not controlling anything.
Who do you think is pulling Biden's strings? Is it former Obama
people
officials?
that you've never heard of, people that are in the dark shadows, people that...
What does that mean? That sounds like conspiracy theory. Dark shadows.
No,
what is that?
people that you haven't heard of. They're people that are on the streets. They're people that are controlling the streets. We had somebody get on a plane from a certain city this weekend, and in the plane it was almost completely loaded with thugs wearing these dark uniforms, black uniforms with gear and this and that. They're on a plane.
Where's this?
I'll tell you sometime, but it's under investigation right now. But they came from a certain city, and this person was coming to the Republican National Convention. And there were like 7 people on the plane like this person, and then a lot of people were on the plane to do big damage. They were coming for
planning for Washington.
Yeah, this is all happening.
But the money is coming from somewhere.
Money is coming
how can it be
from
tracked?
some very stupid rich people that have no idea that if their thing ever succeeded, which it won't, they will be thrown to the wolves like you.
And he's absolutely right. You know, we got people like Soros. The average person doesn't know that name. You know, us, we, people that have been following the movement for the past almost now 4 years, we know those names. You know, and I'm sure there's all these other big tech corporations, just these other big, just rich, powerful people that people don't know about, that run big companies, and you know, they're getting their marching orders from their masters. My allergies, dude. My eyes just like water up. And this stupid fan doesn't help. Trinity for Kyle Rittenhouse. Leftists are attempting to find a way to bring harm to Kyle in prison. Video. Biden is exhausted from yesterday's big speech that his campaign started the morning by calling a lid shutting down for the day. There you go. You got your basement briefing from Biden. Corrupt judge Emmett Sullivan pushes back resolution of General Flynn case. Innocent man until after the election. There's a Technofog article I can read about that. I think the press is fueling the riots, more so than Biden, because Biden doesn't know he's alive. That's a 5-minute clip. Y'all can watch it. Gateway Pundit. Washington Monument, Jefferson Memorial, Ben Franklin statue are on list of things far left DC Mayor Muriel Bowser wants to remove, relocate, contextualize. Who cares? They're just statues. Leave them alone. They're not doing anything to you. They want to remove our history, folks. Video released of Speaker Pelosi at shuttered salon to get hair done during lockdown without a face mask. Iowa State University to allow 25,000 fans at Jack Trice Stadium on September 12th. Thanks local doctors for their input. Obviously, Corona isn't as bad as they said it was, right? JP Morgan Chase Bank NA says to prepare for the rising possibility that President Trump will be reelected. You damn well straight is going to be reelected. AG Bill Barr warns leftist Antifa BLM rioters officials are reviewing video in several cities and they will be arrested and prosecuted.
Democrat leaders in some of this country's largest cities are also working to keep left-wing activists out of the court system, refusing to prosecute the lawbreakers, those they do arrest. Attorney General William Barr with President Trump in Wisconsin today, saying more federal resources will be allocated in the effort to help put anarchists behind bars. The Attorney General also made it clear the mob will not be in charge.
We do not allow judgments to be reached because of mob violence. We do not have mob violence in this country make our decisions over the fate of individuals when their actions are challenged. The violence that erupted shortly after the shooting is simply not a legitimate response. We saw the hijacking of a protest by a hardcore group of radicals who were carrying out, planning a coordinated, violent attack on law enforcement, on public property, and on private property. And that can't be tolerated. There's going to be accountability. What people don't see is that in all of these cities, there are task forces of federal and state officers reviewing all the video that we can get our hands on. And when we are able to identify people who committed crimes in these riots, going all the way back to the beginning, whether they're burning police cars or throwing rocks at people, which are deadly, they will be prosecuted. That's a large-scale effort, and it's going to continue.
And
I'm tired of the light, dude. It blinds my eyeballs. I need to get like one that's like Oh no, I'm gonna buy one of those stands where it comes with the light to where it's like not in front of my face, but just gives me better lighting. Whatever, man. Whatever. If anything, I'll just keep doing this. I just want to thank every single one of you for the support. Kyle Rittenhouse speaks from county jail.
Guys, what do you want to say to the foundation and all the people that have supported our effort to free Kyle? We have John Pierce, lead attorney for Kyle Rittenhouse, and we have Kyle Rittenhouse, direct from county jail. Guys, what would you like to say to the fans?
I just want to thank every single one of you from the bottom of my heart for the underlining support. It's just amazing. I want to thank all of you for the mail I've been receiving. It's been really helpful. Just want to let you all know that I'm going to be out of here soon, and stay strong, and I hope to see you guys soon.
And I want to say that this is 100% self-defense. If this is not self-defense for Kyle Rittenhouse under these circumstances, then no one can protect themselves, no one can protect their family, and no one can protect their country. This is a watershed moment in American history. A very bright line has been crossed. The right to self-defense is a God-given right, and we are not going to allow a prosecutor in Kenosha, Wisconsin to take it away from Kyle Rittenhouse. Thank you so much for all the support.
Amen. Alright, so I think that's it on that. I'm not gonna get to this one. This one was gonna be way too long. I wanted to cover it, but it just shows the various people. Seditious, conspiracy, seditious, RICO, seditious, conspiracy, seditious. These are just the people that are complicit in the media. Knowingly know that they lie to you, to the American people. And you can just go to, oh, I should follow this. Just go to @WarNurse or War News, and you can find it there. Some more pictures of the people in Kenosha, Wisconsin, waiting for the, you know, Trump. Now I want to end it with this. Nobody's talking about Julian Assange. It's only my right eye that waters. Like, this one's fine. This one just waters for no reason. If anybody knows what that is, please let me know in the comments below. Because I'm afraid to go to the doctor and they're like, oh, you got some type of cancer. I'm going to be like, but this was back in August 6th, right? 2020. A New York magistrate judge and is requesting testimony from WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange in a case involving slaying DNC voter data director Seth Rich. The U.S. magistrate judge Sarah Netburn requested the international assistance in order to get the testimony. The parents of Seth Rich are suing Fox News, and Judge Netburn wants Assange to testify on Seth's role in the leaked DNC documents. Julian Assange has repeatedly said the documents did not come from Russia, and Robert Mueller interviewed hundreds of witnesses in his anti-Trump witch hunt, but never got around to questioning Julian Assange, who was the source of the leaked DNC documents. The parents of Seth Rich believe he had nothing to do with the leaked documents to WikiLeaks. They may not like what they find out. On November 9, 2016, Ellen Ratner admitted publicly that she met with Julian Assange for 3 hours the Saturday before the 2016 election. According to Ratner, Julian Assange told her the leaks were not from the Russians. They were from an internal source from the Hillary campaign. Seth Rich was murdered before the election in 2016, late at night in Washington, D.C.
I know we all I hate these media people. They're the worst. Awful, awful. But don't get hung up on it, because it doesn't have that much of an effect. And they did report the emails, Wikipedia. They went after Hillary.
WikiLeaks.
WikiLeaks, yeah, excuse me.
By the way, just FYI,
I got to take a WikiLeaks.
I spent 3 hours with Julian Assange on Saturday at the Ecuadorian Embassy in London.
Listen to this. Go ahead.
Well, I did.
Yeah.
But one of the things he did say is that the leaks were not from, they were not from the Russians. They were an internal source from the Hillary campaign, or from somebody that knew Hillary, an enemy. He does not think they're from Russians. And he said Russia got credit for something WikiLeaks should have gotten credit for.
Well, how many people think that there was part of the party, the Democratic Party, that was trying to put the poison in? Because I always wondered if there were people who just secretly wanted to ruin it for her within their own party. Do you think that?
Well, as he said, she's been around a long time. She has a lot of enemies, and the enemies that he had or has are mainly in the real estate business, but not, he hasn't been in public life, so he doesn't have that sort of enemies that all of us would get if we were in public life.
Alright, so this article came out yesterday, and this is the only one that I could find. It came from Counter Punch. Waiting for the Old Bailey, Julian Assange and Britain's judicial establishment. On September 7th, Julian Assange will be facing another round of grueling extradition proceedings in the Old Bailey, part of a process that has become a form of gradual state-sanctioned torture. The U.S. Department of Justice hungers for their man. The UK prison authorities are doing little to protect his health. The end result, should it result in his death, will be justifiably described as state-sanctioned murder. This picture was not improved upon by a prison visit from his partner Stella Morris, accompanied by their 2 children. Almost 6 months had passed since the last meeting. Physical distancing was practiced during the 20-minute meeting in Belmarsh prison. Morris and Assange wore face masks and visors, a state of affairs curious given to conspicuous lack of protective wear that had been given to Assange during the pandemic. A probation on the touching was observed. We had to keep social distancing, and Julian was told he would have to self-isolate for 2 weeks if he touched the children. Were officials being careful or considerate? Not according to Assange, who claimed it was the first time he had received a mask because things are very different behind the doors. Morris noted prevailing thinness, a yellow armband to indicate prisoner status, and the fact that he was in a lot of pain. What awaits Assange next month promises to be resoundingly ugly. He will have to ready himself for more pain applied by Judge Vanessa Barrister. Throughout her story in the proceedings, Barrister has remained chillingly indifferent to Assange's needs, a model of considered cruelty. Keen followers of Justice will be crestfallen, limiting access to legal counsel by keeping him caged behind a glass screen, ignoring his health considerations, and refusing emergency bail during the COVID-19 pandemic. Her behavior has not been in keeping with that of Chief Magistrate Lady Emma Arbuthnot. Wow, these people have some tongue-twisting names. Who has done her prestigious bit to soil the citadel of British justice in previous rulings on Assange, with a family well and truly embedded in the British intelligence and military establishment. It was alarming to even see her name allocated to the Assange case. In February 2018, she dismissed an application by the publisher to cancel his arrest warrant for refusing to surrender for his extradition to Sweden. It did not matter that Swedish proceedings against the Austrian had been discontinued, or that the prosecution proceeding for the breaching bail had not been commenced. To this ruling came her cool judgment on February 13, 2018 on claims by Assange's legal team that proceedings for failing to surrender to British authorities were disproportionate and not to the public interest. The judgment is horrendous for a few reasons, and in keeping with the intentionally harsh and unimaginative way British courts have dealt with this case. Arbuthnot, for one, was unmoved by the findings of the UN Human Rights Council Working Group on arbitrary detention. His house arrest and harsh restrictions had been proposed by Assange himself. His time in the Ecuadorian embassy in London could have been ended by leaving the embassy whenever he wishes. He could use his computer facilities, eat what he wanted, and see guests. This caricature of freedom and choice was topped by her assessment that read grossly when more abundantly now, while accepting that Assange had expressed fears of being returned to the United States from a very early stage in the Swedish extradition proceedings, she found little merit to them. Sweden would have not rendered him to the United States. To have done so would have precipitated a diplomatic crisis between the UK, US, and Sweden. And how, pray, would she know? As for whether Assange would face an extradition request to Britain, he could always be able to argue extraneous considerations, fair trial, and conditions of detention in the United States prison system. Which brings us to Barrister, who served as an inappropriately bad replacement after but not stood aside from the case despite refusing to admit to any perception of bias. Very little is known about barrister in the public domain, though the investigative outlet Declassified UK has been busy with some dedicated digging. On February 28, 2020, it filed a Freedom of Information request with the Ministry of Justice, MOJ, seeking a list of all the cases with barrister had ruled upon since her appointment in 2011. Of particular interest was her record of extradition ruling. The 2 months elapsed before reply of information officer at the HM Courts and Tribunal Service confirming it had held some information that you have requested, but the request was flatly turned down for not being consistent with the constitutional reform of Act 2005. The judiciary is not a public body for the purposes of the FOIA, and requests asking to disclose all the cases that named judge ruled on are therefore outside the scope of the FOIA. The limitation maintain the independence of the judiciary, which also means that the government does not provide guidance or policy and how judges should operate in court. The information's officer's reasoning was suspicious, not least, but the FOIA request was premised on identifying what should, in any case, be on the public record, the cases upon which judge has been fit to rule upon, with outcomes. This also ignored the fact that some cases involving barrister are actually accessible through the legal database Westlaw. As barrister wishing to remain anonymous explained to Declassified, a court is a public authority for the purposes of the Human Rights Act, and a judge is the officer of the court. A court also acted to public. There is no default anonymity of the names and cases unless children are involved or other certain limited circumstances, nor the judges who rule on them. Undeterred, Declassified preserved and found 24 extradition cases over which barrister presided between November 2015 and May of 2019, mining Factiva and Westlaw. The results show an overly keen enthusiasm for extradition. Of these 24 cases, barrister ordered the extradition of 23 of the defendants, a 96% extradition record from publicly available evidence. One of barrister's rulings was overturned on appeal, with the appellate court attaching considerable weight to the likely impact of extradition upon the health and well-being of the defendant's wife, who would be left with very little support. A scintilla of hope, perhaps, it is in the offing. Alright. And with that note, let's see what happens. Rumors are speculating September 7th. Assange coming to America. Hopefully. Because he's got the goods on the DNC. Seth Rich. But we'll find out in the days to come, folks. But with that one, I will let you go. Thank you for listening. Thank you for everything you do, Patriots. Whoever does, sharing the memes, sharing the videos, putting just information out there on the internet. God bless you all. Where we go one, we go all worldwide. Bye-bye.